In other scenes, she's, like, vulnerable and her own character, but, like, for some reason, Hunter walks in and they're just, like, she's just like, "Begone, vile beast! We do not need your gamer filth around here!" Like, what are you doing?
Hi, Erin.
Hi, Zax.
Hi, Bob.
Hey, Zax. Hey, Erin.
Hey, Bob. Hey, everyone.
Hey, viewer. Wow, rude. Okay.
Well, what?
Hi, viewer. I thought that I'm not happy you're here. It's just Bob keeps finding ways to ruin my intro.
Doesn't it help
Fair.
we've got such a dead audience in tonight? Oh my god.
Yeah. Tough crowd. Yikes. Collar tug, collar. Let's just get on with this.
Okay. Please leave a like to pay for
Don't
my
ask
suffering.
for a like before we've done anything fun.
I yelled at you. I think people who come in here like that.
We're talking about Degrassi again.
Okay. Well, Degrassi did a lot of things dirty, and today Degrassi did video games dirty.
Gamers, rise up.
For real, though. Okay. So, let me give you a little bit of backstory. We watched the arc together just now, but, I guess I'll ask you guys first. Before we get into the meat of what goes on, what is your impressions of Hunter's Hollingsworth? Like, what's his character?
My impression of Hunter is that he's got an anger management issue and he can't shut his mouth.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I feel like that's kind of his whole character.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll cover the other arcs of his story because they're possibly a little too extreme even for kind of friends to tackle, i.e. tagged card in the corner. But, we'll see when we get to all that. One other detail that I should add, Hunter has two siblings. If you noticed as we watched the clips, he has an older brother, Miles Hollingsworth, who is taller, more attractive, more popular than Hunter is. And he has a twin sister, Frankie Hollingsworth, who we will for sure discuss later because she's kind of a racist. But forget about that for now. But she is pretty and more popular and has a lot more friends than Hunter does. So, he is no one says this explicitly, but the way that he is treated is he is like the other Hollingsworth.
Mm-hmm.
So, he has 3 best friends, like that's the deal. I think when unpopular kids are portrayed in school, they always have 3 more friends. And I guess, do we want to talk about who his friends are a little bit?
Sure.
Okay, here, I'll list them off. There's Yelle. She's the non-binary character who, for the most of the season, is the girl character in his friend group. And then there's Vijay, who everybody calls VJ, which I hate as an Indian American. And then there's another kid.
Baz.
Baz is there.
I think he's supposed, this is a little anecdote because this really isn't going to come up at all again. But here's something. Baz's whole deal is that he feels inferior to Hunter. And, I don't know what we're really supposed to take away from that, but he's jealous of Hunter because of all his money, because he later goes on to date Yael, and he's insecure about his boy part size. That they do an episode where Yael measures everybody's. And Hunter, because he's such a good lad. Why does she
measure everybody?
Because she's the neutral party. Then they don't have to worry about nobody cheating. She offers it.
Wow.
And Hunter doesn't like that because they're dating at this point. And he's like, hey, you're my girlfriend. You're not supposed to see other peepees. And then she's...
No more pee-pee peeping.
No pee-pee.
Yeah. So, but then she does it, and Hunter, because he is such a good lad and because he loves his friends so much, he goes out to Yale and he says, hey, I know I won by like a lot, my friend, but like do not tell them that I won. Let Baz win. He really needs a win right now. And Yale is like, you're so lame and noble, but like I love you. And so she tells them that Baz won. Okay, so I just wanted you guys to know that Hunter is a good boy. He is very young and very dumb.
That is such a weak way to suggest that he's a good boy.
That's Degrassi.
Considering where the show goes later with Hunter, this is such like a drop in the bucket as far as...
Well, technically what I'm talking about happens after.
What?
Way after. Welcome to Degrassi. Anyway, so let's get back to this. So, what should we call this gang? The four sad group? The sad bunch?
What?
What should we call this group of friends?
The Gamer Club.
Yeah, let's just go with the Gamer Club.
Let's go with the self-appointed title.
Well, they haven't formed yet. Anyway, okay, so the Gamer Club, before they're appointed... See, that's confusing. But anyway, the Gamer Club has to participate in mandatory intramural sports because the president of the school, Tristan, is like, this is a great way to unite students, but they hate it because they're the only 4 students in the whole school, apparently, who don't want to play sports. Literally. Everybody else is like, amazing at it, and they all call Hunter a noob because he does the thing where he thinks he's gonna do a good, but he shoots the ball into the other team's net.
His own team's net.
Yeah, the other team's net. And they're all mad. So they get their Gamer Club, and I guess when they get the team club, any thoughts on like how they get the club formed? Or
they get the club formed. He walks into the room with the president of the school, the student council president, who has what's her name hovering over his shoulder?
Zoe
hovering over his shoulder like Wormtongue in Lord of the Rings, whispering poison into his mind. I don't know why. Like, in other scenes, she's, like, vulnerable and her own character, but, like, for some reason, Hunter walks in and they're just, like, she's just like, "Begone, vile beast! We do not need your gamer filth around here!" Like, what are you doing? Why are you so mean? For no reason.
I will add, Zoe's whole secret thing is that she's in the closet and really tortured about it, so I don't...
That doesn't explain anything.
I wasn't saying it explains anything. I'm saying I don't know why she's so mean to outsiders when she herself feels like an outsider with, like, pretty face on. Like, she feels like it's a mask she wears and nobody knows the real her because reasons, and I don't know.
But yeah, that's Hunter walks in and is just like, "Hey, you know, we suck at sports. Can we please have a gamer club?" And they're like, "What?" She says, "Why don't you just go to the gym like a normal person?" And it's like, who are you? Leave. I'm trying to have a conversation with the student council president. Leave.
Yeah. It's also weird, too, because she's not his VP. She's literally was his campaign manager. I don't know why she still has a hand in
Why does a student council
anymore.
President need a campaign manager?
Well, she also didn't even do nothing when he was running.
That's what I'm saying. Why does he need a campaign? It's not like he's going around the country, like, planning events. Like, do you know what student council elections were like at my school? This is how they went. Somebody said, "Hey, I'm running for student council president," and maybe you'd see some posters up, and then in like a week or two we'd have an election, and it would just be a piece of paper with everybody who's running, and you just check off the person you wanted to win. There were no speeches. There was nothing.
Yeah, I literally never recognized a single name.
Yeah, I was just like, I don't know who any of these people are. I'm not gonna check any names.
I don't even think I saw any posters around. Like, maybe one. I don't know.
There was some student
Anyway.
government position that somebody signed me up for, and then I got like 4 votes, including my own, and then I didn't even know about it, and I never figured out who signed me up, and then it was over. Like,
I mean,
TV shows like Degrassi like to pretend that like student council is this thing that people care about. No one cares about student council. Student council president doesn't do anything.
so now let's talk about. So they get
They get the gamer club.
the gamer club because Tristan's like, all right, you won me over, you silly scamps. You get your gamer club. Hunter now begins to feel like good about himself, right?
Yeah, sure. I mean, initially he's like, wow, they didn't listen to me at all, and then he walks away, and then later on the student council president Tristan comes over and is just like, well, we thought about it, and yeah, you were right, we should have a gamer club because we need alternatives to sports. Which, by the way, if that was really your thought process, you should probably have thought about things other than just gamer club, because gamer club has 4 members in it. It's not like everybody else in the school is cool with sports and these 4 people don't want to play sports. There would be almost certainly weak-armed poets out there who'd like to be in extracurriculars that aren't sports. Or,
Yeah.
like, just musicians, maybe. Or, I'm trying to think of other hobbies. Ping pong.
You could have a
Like-
board games club.
Board games, yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, I was going to try and lead us back into the topic a little bit more. But yeah, they form the club, and then after that, I guess they, like, play against a local team, and they win by, like, 1 point out of, like, 300.
Yeah, it was like
And-
259 to 260.
Yeah, and like all the while they're like doing the typical in quotes like gamer talk, or at least some like 40-year-old CEO's conception of gamer talk, because they're like really PG and like really like specifically. Sorry, go on.
No, by all means.
It's built in a way that specifically is specifically insinuates that the feminist club and the gamer club are going to cross paths.
Yeah,
and
it's
they-
like really, really forced. Like, I don't know why they're having really, like you said, PG, trash talk. So it's like, hey, get 'em, guys.
hike up your
Which is like
skirts,
not
ladies.
a thing. And then it's just like, all right, well, they're gonna be scrambling faster than girls to an H&M sale, which is like super forced.
Yeah.
This is a good time for me to ask. So I don't really play a lot of games. I don't think I've ever really played a MOBA at all, except the time that I tried with you guys, and it was mostly me getting lost and you guys looking for me, and me dying a lot. I don't know if you guys remember when we played Paladins together.
I remember Paladins is only sort of a MOBA.
Okay, that's my area of expertise. Also,
I'm sorry,
I remember.
you call that your area of expertise?
I guess that's my area
That's your
of
experience.
Yeah, experience. And some sort of XP. Huh?
I getting lost.
No, she's trying to do like a gamer pun.
Oh, I see. I'm smart.
My sides are knotted up from laughing at that joke.
Yeah.
I got him. Okay. But then, I also played Slime Manager, and that experience was mostly me saying "ah" from the star slimes because they're very scary. You both have played more MOBAs, I believe, right?
No, not more MOBAs.
I've played a lot of games. I don't really play many MOBAs because they're extremely toxic. Like, they pick
my only advice for people who want to get into Dota is Dota get started, because it's terrible. How you like that for a gamer pun?
I
But-
didn't get it.
The game's called Dota, and instead of don't, I'm saying Dota, get into it.
Oh, I didn't know it was a game. I was thinking it was still something like how MOBA's an acronym for.
Dota is short for it doesn't matter.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, the Gamer Club's main game that they play, or the only game that they play rather, is this like cheap imitation of what a MOBA is supposed to look like. And
Yeah, they call it a MOBA, and it's obviously supposed to be sort of like a League of Legends thing.
Oh, wait, before we get into that, we'll repeat this part again so we can cut it. What I was trying to do with that whole thing, I was trying to lead into, I was going to ask you guys, if you guys are trash talking at all, what kind of things were said?
If I trash talk in a game,
I guess, or if you get mad or something, I don't know.
The thing is, like, I don't know, like, my generation of gamers came up, like, I grew up with Xbox Live when trash talk was much more common. And I say that because, like, most of the time when people are playing video games these days, you're in private, like, groups. Like, almost nobody plays with their headset connected to team chat or just open mic. Almost nobody plays that way anymore. Even though those options are usually still available, you rarely hear, by the time Halo 3 rolled around, people had pretty much just partied up, and you would only talk to your friends during the match, which isn't the most efficient way to do it, but whatever. Whatever floats people's boats.
well,
But, like, what's interesting to me is that, like, the trash talking that happened when I was a kid, first of all, it was always much more, what's it called? Well, it was less PG. But, so, like, I can't say it on this channel.
Right,
But, it would be, like, the standard sort of things that you might expect, like, go F yourself, Or just, like, crying out in anger, just like, ah!
So do you think...
Like, nobody had anything clever to say. Nobody was throwing around one-liners that they wrote beforehand.
Okay, that's what I wanted to
Like,
get
nobody
to.
does
Okay.
my experience with games is I never really had a full friend group enough to actually avoid team chat when it's there. I do have the same experience where the post-game lobby is kind of dead. It's not really a thing that happens anymore in games. You don't sit around in the post-game lobby and chat with the other team. Usually the team communication is cut off, so you're not getting a lot of trash talk from the enemy team, and if it is, it's through text chat. But if you don't have enough friends to fill out the entire group roster, or you're playing on your own with other people, it's still incredibly terrible. Like, if you have a feminine voice... I mean, I've never really experienced this personally because I still have a lot of voice training to do. But whenever playing with my sister or a random woman is in our match, and she talks over mic, immediately 9 times out of 10 somebody's like, get the F off the game, go back to the kitchen, make a sandwich, blah blah blah.
And, like, to be clear, like, a lot of times when people make those kinds of statements, the guys making the statement, if you ask them, they'll say, like, oh, we're just making a joke, or, it's like, we're just trying, it's just them being edgy, or whatever. But at the same time, if that's what happens every time a woman enters the game, and every time she does, like, there's a certain point where you say the joke enough that it's no longer ironic.
I wouldn't say that it's always a joke. Like, a lot of the times...
I mean, a lot of times I think it is. Or at least they say it is.
Yeah, I think a lot of the times it's thrown with some level of sincerity. Like, the people who are like, oh, women's reaction times are like 1 ms slower than men's or whatever.
You're right.
Like, I got quite a lot of people who got angry as soon as they realized that there was a woman in their game. And there was actually a study done on this. It turns out that a lot of that abuse tends to come from people who are worse at the game because they project their they're poor playing onto other people, particularly women, because they're an easy thing to blame.
That's basically the attitude. A lot of times trash talking happens within a team rather than against the other team. And the trash talking that happens between men a lot of times is sort of good-natured ribbing or like, come on, play better. And when it's men to women...
Get your head in the game.
Yeah, get your head in the game. When it's men to women, it tends to be a little bit more toxic, which is unfortunate and bad and should stop, etc. But, like, that's not what's demonstrated in this Degrassi episode, where we've got people all working together, all in agreement, saying misogynistic things about other people to each other.
They're saying it about the other team.
They're saying it about the other team to each other.
But they're also to each other. But they're also calling each other ladies too. They just only use ladies. They don't say like, "All right, men, let's do this thing." It's just like, "Come on, ladies. Oh, ladies.
Yeah, get your head in the game, ladies."
It's confusing who's really the ladies here. They are calling each other ladies for the most part. And okay. So they have this game. They win it. They're going to nationals. They want to get more money because their computers are bad.
Which, by the way, their computers seem fine.
I guess, but because they keep saying laggy. That seems like an internet issue, doesn't it?
Well, that, and also, like, I'm looking, and now that the game just didn't seem that laggy. That also wouldn't necessarily, I mean, unless your game is, like, unplayably bad, you know.
Well, they're saying that, like, their response time is being ruined by these laggy computers.
Computers.
I was trying to make a joke, because don't they say stuff like that?
Do they?
I don't know, it's irrelevant.
Okay.
But yeah, they're trying to get new tech, as they put it, because their computers are really slow. One of them said that they thought that their computer was going to crash.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So they I mean, what did they even do before the fundraiser thing? Like,
so he starts making cold calls. I don't know to who. Also, the other team members don't join. Just Hunter is making cold calls. And he's like, you know, if you donate to us and, like, you're not even using the computers, so just give us money. And he immediately gets mad and throws his headset on the ground.
Yeah.
I guess just to...
I mean, that's what he gets for trying to talk on the telephone, well, at all in the year 2020. But, like, talking on the phone using a headset... That was from the, like, 80s.
I guess this is a little bit side piece of Hunter's character. His brother comes up and literally just wastes his time, dunks on him for what, like 5 minutes, and then leaves.
Yeah, it's supposed to be in order to convince him. What is that? Like he gets an idea from this.
Well, somehow it gets to the idea that they need to fundraise from the school. Oh.
Yeah, his brother is like, $5 per autograph, and then Hunter has the realization that, we could do crowdfunding. So he calls up his friend and is like, hey, you got that cosplay? And I thought immediately that he was going to just try and, like, pimp out Yael to try and like cosplay pimp Yael for autographs.
It was super. Yeah, I'm glad they didn't do that, but that is definitely what I thought too.
So they instead make a really cute little commercial. They're all wearing, I'm assuming, costumes from this particular MOBA, and they say, like, hey, like, we could make it to nationals, we need your help, go team go, and they're really proud of themselves. And they're a little worried that they might have embarrassed themselves. But then Tristan comes in with a notice. Mm-hmm. Turns out, looking a little silly is the least of their problems, because right now they are problematic.
So at this point, the feminist club gets involved, saying that their game is misogynistic and depicts male violence against women who are sexualized, and the men are shown as strong even though the men are just as sexualized as the women.
Yeah, they specifically call them out for having sexualized violence, and that's... I don't think the writers of the show know what that term means.
Like, okay, yeah.
Like that's
I guess let's talk...
not sexualized violence.
Yeah. Let's go through, like, each problem first. So, first off, women are hypersexualized and men aren't. But, like, everyone has super buff hot bodies in this game. We're all different colors, species, and whatnot. Hunter to this says, okay, but those are literally plants, robots, and aliens. Okay.
And then the feminist club counter argument is, yeah, with major cleave, which is like, I mean, like, okay, the thing is, like, I think both sides in this case, feminist club makes a point. There's, you know, it's violence, or not violence. It's sexualizing the females. It's not sexualizing the males. There is a counter argument, but for some reason Hunter doesn't make the correct counter argument. Instead, he says, but they're not even human, which is not a helpful response. And then they respond by, like, everybody just... I said this last time we did a video about Degrassi that I was on, where Degrassi has this problem. They want to demonstrate what's going on in the world, but instead of telling us something useful about the topic, instead, all they want to do is just show us an argument, and the argument is always the worst arguments from both sides, and then they just pick a winner. In this case, the winner they pick is the feminist club.
The other thing I want to say is, like, one, I think Hunter should have said something about, like, the men are just as sexy to me. And then see what they have to say. Because the men were barely clothed either.
Yeah, they were very sexualized too. That is the correct counter-argument, but instead, no.
And then the other thing is, like, you know, I've seen this happening too, which I think is weird that Feminist Club is taking this stance, because, like, people were really mad at the new Powerpuff Girls reboot because, one, they got rid of Cerebellum.
Oh, yeah.
Entirely, and with Miss Keene, they got rid of her breasts. So, too much cleave. How about acknowledging the female form, feminist?
Yeah.
Not that angry.
But yeah, the arguments that the Feminist Club makes aren't even super relevant, because while they're bad arguments, Hunter at first makes decent arguments against them, or... well, not decent arguments, but he doesn't make any bad points. Like,
Yeah.
And then, arbitrarily out of nowhere, he just decides, you know what? Trigger? Like, the Feminist Club leader says that it's a triggering activity, and he goes, trigger?
It was specifically triggering for any woman who's a victim of male violence.
To which he responds by basically stereotyping her religion. She's Islamic and wearing a headscarf. And he goes, you know, what about your headscarf? Or you might blow us all up. Snap and blow us all up. And then he, you know, like, and before that he's like, and what about your blonde hair? It's the perfect's all mocking me, and so on and so forth. He just goes on a tirade that completely makes him look terrible and invalidates the whole discussion. Even though beforehand he hadn't actually made any super terrible points, he completely destroyed his optics.
Yeah, like, one of the arguments he made was, like, there's literally a football team.
Yeah,
and here's
like,
another thing, too.
This perpetuates violence, you know, this perpetuates male violence against women. And it's like, okay, but we have a football team where those guys are literally trying to hurt each other. And they just brushed that argument off like that didn't make any sense.
Like, he didn't say anything. They don't even acknowledge it at all. And, like, one thing, too, is, like, Goldie, like, she actually, like, shakes a little bit. Like, she's getting so frustrated and upset with Hunter because of this. And it's like, whoa, my friend. Because she says, oh, what about Wii bowling? Which, like...
Well, that happens a little bit later.
No, she says it during this meeting too.
What?
She reiterates it. She really wants them to play me bowling.
Me bowling.
Whatever. I don't remember if they use the real name or not. But here's the thing. He's expressed, like, if this is the game, we're up for nationals. We could get scholarships for playing this game. This is important to us. Like, can we... They're just like, no, you need to just stop playing video games. Which, like, okay, maybe there's an argument for, like, appropriate talk in a school-sanctioned deal.
And let's be clear, they say this misogynist stuff, and they bring it up, and then the feminist club brings it up to Hunter, and Hunter says, okay, we'll stop saying that. Can we go? Which is a little bit brisk, a little bit rude, but is the correct course of action. They should probably add, like, maybe apologize, and then you're good. You just move on. But no, feminist club wants they're out for blood. And this is it's so frustrating to me because I'm like, it's not like what they're arguing for or what feminism in general in the real world is arguing for is this or is wrong. Like, Degrassi's making feminists look bad. Degrassi's also making gamers look bad by just misrepresenting every perspective.
So then, after he blows up and he says his insulting thing to, everybody in this tirade, it gets a little racist.
Yeah, it does
Very
get a little racist
really.
because he says, it gets
What
pretty
he said.
racist. He says, it's triggering to me to see your headscarf because it makes me wonder, when you're gonna snap and blow us all up, which is like, obviously that's a...
You lost the game.
He absolutely loses it, and this is again another reason why it doesn't make any sense for the gaming club to make him their spokesman when he clearly has an anger issue and he clearly doesn't know how to speak to people. In every conversation, it's his only characteristic.
He gets mad.
He gets mad.
Totally unstable.
Yeah. We even talked about, like, okay, there's 3 other members. Yael, I could see them arguing. Although, realistically, it should have been Yael. I mean, I'm not saying you need to use, like, your token girl against other girls or whatever, but she is the most reasonable, as we see throughout the rest of the show.
Yeah.
She is the level-headed one. But I can see her not wanting to because she doesn't seem like the type of person who likes confrontation.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, wouldn't it make more sense for if you don't have one person who could represent the gamer club? How about just bring all 4 of them in? It's 4 people. That's not that many people.
Yeah,
if it was
they did
20
have
of them, I'd understand not bringing everybody. But there's only 4 of them. You could just have the entire club represent itself.
That's also something that is weird that they don't go, because the entire feminist club, I believe, is sitting and standing and listening to this
the entire feminist club is there. Goldie and Maya are having this conversation. They're representing, the feminist club. So you would at least think there'd be 2 members of the gaming club there. I don't know.
No. So then, Yael gives him a pep talk, like, you're trying, bud. Like, just try again, apologize. And, like, I still believe in you. You got this. So he goes back and he apologizes. He's like, look, I don't actually think the racist thing I said. I was dumb, but I was trying to make a point that it's dumb that people think that, so it's dumb that you think what you think, right?
I mean, he makes it a little bit better than that, which is that I was trying to make a point about irrational fears people have, and this is, that was my point. There's an irrational fear people have about gamers or this thing or that thing, and if we just try to, it's something like that. And she's like, and Goldie's response is like, okay, well, I'm glad you're at least trying to make it up to us. It starts off on sort of the right foot. And he says, okay, we're willing to make some changes. So the changes we're willing to make. Okay, so let's, obviously we'll stop, saying these things, but, we'd also like to do this and this, but please don't shut us down. And Goldie says, why don't you play a different game, like Wii Bowling, again?
Well, but hold on, before we get there. But one of the other solutions they offer to the table is like, okay, so it's bad that it depicts violence against women, so we'll just stop using female players. And then then Goldie is like,
characters.
What, so no female representation?
They say that they won't use female characters, not players.
Oh, yeah, no female, characters.
Yeah, no female characters. And they're like, oh, so there won't be any female representation? And he's like, but Yale is there. Yale's a girl. And then the student council president who's there as well, Tristan, says, yeah, she's one girl on the team. Again, there's 4 people on this team. So, like, and then it says, there's one girl, and I see even less on other teams. And I'm like, okay, I can't help who signs up for the club, but also I can't help who signs up for other people's teams.
I can only control my team. Like
fine, maybe I should make more of a reach to women and, try to get more people in on our thing. Cool, fine, I'm willing to make that concession. How can you blame me for what's happening in other schools? I don't even know those people.
To which he fantastically replies, well, men are just better than games. Men are just better than women at playing games.
Which is like, what?
Yeah, the most stupid argument he could have possibly made, to which he clarifies, well, men grow up playing games, so they're better at it on average. Which, fair, but he also put it extremely dumb.
Like, they're pulling another Degrassi, where there's an argument made, and there's an obvious counter-argument to it, and instead of making the counter-argument that makes sense, instead the characters just blurt out some dumb crap that doesn't make any sense. As a counter-argument. You might still make that argument in another context, Like, I don't necessarily agree that, like, on the face of it, that men are just better at video games or whatever. But you can make that argument. But now's not the right time for that argument. And that is always how Degrassi handles arguments.
Yeah, the way he should have worded it is like, look, I don't know why more guys are into video games of the statistics you just brought up. But me and my friends, including my girl/friend, Yael, like this game and we would like to play it. I can't control our genders, so can we just move along?
Yeah. Like,
that's what it, because they are blaming him for this, and he can't, but like, and
I
then
genuinely
she's like,
have no control over that.
And then she's like, I thought we were talking about real solutions. What about Wii Bowling? And he's like, okay, but like, this is the game we need to play if we're gonna get into nationals.
This is the game. And it's like, they're clearly, like, it's obvious that the writers of this scene understood on some level that there's a difference between Wii Bowling and this MOBA that they play, which I don't know why I guess I understand why they would name drop Wii Bowling as a wholesome game and then not name drop, League of Legends or Dota or whatever as the not wholesome game. But they're basically suggesting, okay, there is a difference. Hunter gets that there's a difference, but he's going to pull a Degrassi, and he's not going to make the correct counter-argument. She says, why don't you play Wii Bowling? He says, this is the game. And she just kind of ignores it, like he didn't say anything. When the truth of the matter is, like, that's like saying, oh, stop playing football, why don't you play, I don't know, staring contests? There's no scholarships for staring contests. That's not a thing. No one values that. That's why they play this game. And he specifically says, I didn't design the game. I play the game. This is the game to play to have a nationals. Nobody's having rock, paper, scissors champions.
And, like, this is the thing, too, because at this point, Hunter has put his cards on the table. He's like, okay. Like, and, I mean, I don't blame him too much, because he's only, like, 14? It's perfectly fine that he doesn't know how to navigate this really incredibly unfair argument against, like, basically the whole school and him. And they've already decided that this doesn't matter, but they've let him believe that he still has a shot at fixing this, which is also rude. But he said, like, look, okay, so these are what I understand the problems to be. Can this be a solution? They could say, like, look, I get what you're trying to say, but now, like, this presents this problem. So, and then he's like, okay, but it has to be this game so we get to nationals. And then they could be like, okay, how about we make these adjustments and then we can all work it out. So, we want female representation. How about this? How about this? We will only play as female characters. So when we win, women win.
I mean, like that's not. It's still not a perfectly reasonable solution for most MOBAs, because most of the time choosing what characters you play is a pretty significant decision.
Right.
Like it changes what skills your character has and what you're good at and what you're capable of doing. So like your team loadout may genuinely require some male characters and some female characters, or your team you might just be bad at one character and good at another character. So like that's a thing.
Yeah.
But the show doesn't seem to recognize that nuance. So they could have suggested a solution like that. And no, we can't do that because the feminist club isn't interested in listening to what's happening, because the writers have already decided the feminist club will win this and Hunter just has to look bad so it makes sense that they won.
And also because
by the way, I don't want to give Hunter too much of a pass for being 14 and not being able to navigate a situation like this, because like it is possible to have a normal conversation with a 14-year-old. Like most 14-year-olds aren't total novices at speaking like a human.
True, but he's an unstable 14-year-old.
He's very unstable, yeah.
He was not the guy for the job. Okay, so he loses and he's depressed.
Yeah, of course.
Or not depressed.
Yeah, he storms out of the room and he's like, God, the gamer club is literally standing on the other side of a doorway waiting for him. And then he says, oh, guys, I'm sorry, I screwed it up again. And they say, yeah, but no one ever fights for us. And I'm like, there's 4 of you. You could fight for you.
No.
Why didn't you go in there and temper his rage?
Because he needs to be he has to have a thirst that only revenge can quench.
Yeah, because he says, hey, you'll help me with anything? It's time for revenge. And it's like...
And dramatic music plays, and, I will say, I don't know if we're going to cover this topic, because obviously they do everything dirty. They also do cyberbullying dirty, and that's what we're leading into here.
Okay.
So,
I wasn't sure about that, yeah.
Yeah. So, yay! Feminists win the day. Gamers stay down on the ground. Yeah. And now go swat some innocent women.
Basically everyone. Mm-hmm. We live in a society. Yep.
Okay. Erin, anything you'd like to close us out with?
I don't think there is anything I can really close out with before, unless we go into the next arc. So...
yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's it for now.
It feels like we just kind of went through a summary of events, but, the events kind of speak for themselves in this case.
Yeah.
Normally we would wrap this up with a discussion of why this is wrong, but I'm not even necessarily sure we need to.
Degrassi is a bad show, and kids make bad arguments, especially on Degrassi.
Yeah, they make especially bad arguments on Degrassi.
Yeah, it's come on, you've watched this far, you're smart enough to put 2 and 2 together. You don't need us to unpack how those arguments were bad, surely. We've already done a bit of that. Just having no point to the discussion, being racially insensitive, not really getting the point, totally ignoring
counter-arguments, opposing viewpoints, sending in the most unstable member of your team to advocate for you,
It's like having a debate online in real life.
Oh. That's what the show's trying to do and failing to give us any nuance or insight into. Huh.
But yeah, it's just genuinely terrible how they handled that.
Okay, so thank you guys for coming to hang out with me. You guys, Erin's link to her GoFundMe is in the description.
In the doobly-doo.
Yeah, please check that out. Yeah, and you should also join our Discord server because we have a lot of discussions like this one with you. And remember to comment, like, and subscribe because we all need friends.